who is making that donation. So in a way, that anonymity was given to the donor. Neither the political party nor the donor needed to reveal the name of who had donated that money. Only the SBI, and by virtue SBI is under the government, so only the government knew. That is what the petitioners say. And the petitioners say that led to a certain level of anonymity. Is there quid pro quo? Some petitioners had alleged in court, led by Prashant Bhushan and Kapil Sibal, that whichever company, that cap which was there on companies that they could donate to a certain amount was also removed. So we have seen big donations coming in to political parties and the opposition, and the petitioners in the Supreme Court basically have alleged that over 60% of the donations which have come through electoral bonds have gone to the BJP. That was the major context in which the parties had approached the Supreme Court. Now what the Supreme Court has said: one, it has said that the sale of electoral bonds should be immediately stopped. SBI has been directed to stop the sale of electoral bonds. SBI has also been directed to issue the details of which political parties have received electoral bonds, what the data is. That entire data has to be furnished to the Election Commission of India by March the 6th. And the Election Commission of India has been directed to publish that entire data on electoral bonds by March 31st on its website. This means that the data on who donated the money, how much money had come, this all may become public. And if it becomes public before March 31st, this could become a major election issue in the Lok Sabha elections, because the opposition may look at that list and say, see, who all donated to the BJP, who all donated to the parties in power in states. Is there a quid pro quo? The scheme is not proper. It has led to all sorts of money being coming to political parties through anonymous means. This could become a major election issue, because the dates which have been fixed for the disclosure of all this data now is March 31st, and we all know that Lok Sabha elections are scheduled in the month of April and May, as they were in 2019. That is expected. Another interesting part that has been directed by the Supreme Court, that political parties will have to refund the amount to the voters, whatever electoral bonds are lying uncashed with them. So when a person buys an electoral bond, he has 15 days to donate it to a political party, and then the political party encash it.
Good evening, this is Brass Tacks. I'm Zakir Jacob. The Supreme Court today, in a stunning judgment, struck down on the electoral bonds scheme. It ruled electoral bonds as unconstitutional and in violation of the right to information. The court also asked the SBI, the state bank, which is the only bank which issues electoral bonds, to reveal all the donors by the 31st of March. This, the Election Commission will then have to publish on its website the full list of donors who have donated to various political parties through the electoral bonds. In fact, it has also asked political parties to return all the uncashed bonds back to the donors. Now, the opposition is calling this a big win for transparency in the electoral process, as it should be, or because of the Supreme Court asking for a retrospective naming of all the donors to various political parties. Will this get mired in the heat and dust and mud of politics between the government and the opposition? But first, the story of what many are calling a historic verdict.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने एक ऐतिहासिक निर्णय दिया है और भारतीय जनता पार्टी की ब्लैक मनी कन्वर्शन स्कीम यानी इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड स्कीम को खारिज कर दिया।
I welcome it because we've all had very strong discussions and debates about it.
हमारा मानना है कि ये इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड स्कीम ये राजनीतिक करप्शन, पॉलिटिकल करप्शन का लीगलाइजेशन। आज ये जजमेंट जो आया इसका हम स्वागत करते हैं।
में राजनीतिक पार्टियों को या सरकारों को कौन लोग चंदा दे रहे हैं, कितना चंदा दे रहे हैं, यह चुनावी बॉन्ड योजना के तहत गुप्त रखा जाता है, लेकिन आज से उन्हें बताना होगा।
Since the judgment is of a constitution bench running into hundreds of pages, it requires a comprehensive study and thereafter a structured reply. This decision was undertaken for a very laudable objective, to bring in transparency in electoral funding.
All right, so let's take you through some of the key aspects of what the Supreme Court's ruling is as of today. Number one, it says that anonymous electoral bonds are violative to the right to information. It also goes on to say that it's an infringement of the right to information, and that cannot be justified for curbing black money. Information about corporate contributions must be disclosed, as donations could be seen as purely quid pro quo. Amendments in the Companies Act which permit unlimited political contributions are arbitrary and unconstitutional. Also, that information about the funding of political parties is essential for making electoral choices. So, pretty scathing in its observations in the order as to what it feels about the electoral bond scheme. But what is now the road ahead? Because we are well and truly in election season, so if there are corporate interests or individuals who want to contribute to political parties, how do they go about it? What's the road ahead? State Bank of India, which is the only bank which issues electoral bonds, will forthwith stop issuing them. The SBI has also been asked by the court to release the data of all those who had contributed through electoral bonds until the 31st of March. That data has to be shared to the Election Commission. The SBI will have to furnish the details of the bonds that have been encashed by various political parties, and the Election Commission will have to publish on its website by the end of March the details of the bonds and who bought these bonds by, in fact, I'm told 13th of March, not the end of March. In fact, political parties will also have, if there are uncashed electoral bonds, they will have to refund that amount back to the donors who gave it to them. Now, here's the thing. While, people who argue for transparency in the election process are by and large welcoming this order, the BJP has said that yes, it will honor the Supreme Court's verdict, but top government sources have also cited some concerns about today's judgment. They've said that the policy was aimed at curbing black money in elections and safeguarding donors. The big concern is, what about the legal rights of those who have already donated? Remember, this was passed as part of the finance bill in Parliament, which gave the donors a legal guarantee that their identities would be protected. The donors who earlier had that legal guarantee of anonymity by an act passed in Parliament, that legal guarantee no longer exists. Also, that donations took place because of the anonymity factor. It took place without fear of any malicious targeting by those who are part of the ruling government. Is there no sanctity of legal regimes from Parliament? Remember, this was part of the finance bill. It was an act passed by Parliament, and that is what the Supreme Court has struck down on. And most importantly, the SC could have decided to disclose donor names prospectively rather than retrospectively. And the retrospective aspect is problematic, because if you start releasing and start interpreting laws in a retrospective fashion, applying laws in a retrospective fashion, then that would be very, very suspect in legal terms. So this is one area of concern, but by and large, like I said, this is a big boost towards transparency in the whole election funding process and who is giving how much to which political party. Let me go across to our guests who are joining us. Dr. Shama Mohammed is National Spokesperson of the Congress Party. Ghanshyam Tiwari, National Spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party. Sanjeev Unyal is a lawyer. Ashutosh Srivastava was also a lawyer. And Major General retired Anil Verma is the head of ADR, which was one of the petitioners in this case. Let me start with you, Major General, because the Election Commission had cited concerns about electoral bonds. The RBI had cited concerns about electoral bonds. But the government went ahead with it anyway. It got passed in Parliament. And I believe a lot of opposition parties at that time had also supported it. But the bigger question is this. Now what happens? Because there is no electoral bond scheme. The government says, and you heard Ravi Shankar Prasad's soundbite a moment ago, that they had brought this to curb illegal funding and black money in politics. They believe that the intent of this was right, maybe the instrument was wrong. But what happens now, Major General? How can corporate interests or individual interests who want to contribute to political parties, how do they go about it now?
So, Zaka, thank you for having me. Firstly, it doesn't change anything. The previous system continues. All donations above 20,000 rupees, complete details are supposed to be made public. That will continue. The above 20, below 20,000 donations will continue. The only thing which is not going to be there is the system of electoral bonds. So that is one. Secondly, the money which the parties have already collected through the electoral bonds, the Supreme Court has not asked it to be refunded. They already have it, they have spent it. And by the way, in January sale itself, 2,800 crores worth electoral bonds have been sold already. So they have enough money in their kitties for the elections. So they're not worried, really speaking.
Okay.
But I want to, those 3-4 points which you gave as if justifying the government's stand. I want to ask you, what about the FCRA? It was amended with retrospective effect just because BJP and Congress were found guilty of accepting foreign funding.
Of course.
So, I mean, what is the big deal? The people have a right to know who's giving the money to which party and how much. So that was the basic thing, Article 19A1, which thankfully the Supreme Court has upheld.
No,
Now-
I am with you on that. The reason why some people have expressed concerns about the retrospective nature is, for example, if you remember this, the famous Vodafone retrospective tax case. If you start applying laws retrospectively, the argument is, and there is a case to be made for this, that it is a slippery slope. You will start opening up a Pandora's box. But in this case, I agree with you because you can't have prospective naming because there is no prospective naming. The whole scheme has been rendered unconstitutional.
Okay, now coming to your what is likely to happen. Now, some people are already saying that the government may think of bringing an ordinance against this and all that. I am not a legal expert, but I think all the amendments which were done to the Income Tax Act, to the Companies Act, to the RBI Act, to the RPA have been struck down as unconstitutional by this constitution bench. So it is not going to be easy for the government to bring in an ordinance. That is one. The second thing is that there were enough, and I have heard all the arguments in November when the case was being discussed in the Supreme Court. The Solicitor General was giving the same arguments that this is transparent and this is going to reduce the black money and cash donations and all that. There was not enough proof as per statistics given to the court by these government councils that this was true. The people say, what is happening now? Don't you see mountains of cash being discovered from political people in their houses? Counting machines are still there. What happened to the demonetization? Did the black money reduce? I mean, these are questions, the other thing I want to say is, this is not about BJP getting more or Congress getting more. Initially, when the scheme was introduced, agreed, the BJP got the maximum. But slowly, all the political parties which are in power, whether they are in the states or the center, started receiving funds through electoral bonds.
Yeah.
Because it was a win-win situation for the donor and the donee.
Exactly.
Both are happy.
So let me bring in the political spokespersons. What General Verma is saying is absolutely right, Dr. Shama Mohammed. Let me start with you first. This is data until October of 2023. The total amount of purchases through electoral bonds and donations through electoral bonds was a little under 10,000 crores, of which over 5,000 crores went to the BJP. 57% of donations was through electoral bonds. For the Congress party, it was 952 crores, 10% was through electoral bonds. TMC was third with 767 crores. Again, 8% was through electoral bonds. So to say that only the BJP was beneficiary of electoral bonds is factually incorrect. The Congress party has also benefited from electoral bonds.
I don't agree with you.
Maybe in a lesser proportion, for sure.
What are you saying, Zaka? For once, you must support today's judgment.
No.
And the Congress
I am supportive of the judgment. Which part of my question is unsupportive of the judgment?
It's a 5-judge bench unanimous decision saying that electoral bonds are unconstitutional.
Where did I say that I disagree with the judgment? Why are you putting words in my mouth?
Don't point fingers today at the Congress party, because my leader, Rahul Gandhi ji, is being vindicated. He said it is money laundering from the beginning. Now, you have to understand, 96% went to the Bharatiya Janata Party. All right. When the Supreme Court itself said that there should be a level playing field. Now, we went against it. We put cases in court, but Supreme Court took a long time for this judgment. Should have done much before. That is one. Thanks to it, it came out at least now. Now, let's understand. Let's go back to 2017. In 2017, when the finance minister at that time, Arun Jaitley, got in, when he went to the RBI, you said the RBI objected. They were against it, not objected. They were against it. They said this cannot be because this is money laundering. But you know what Jaitley's secretary, that time finance secretary, said? They said, we can't do it. He said, no. Tomorrow the bill is going to go in Parliament. We don't care what you say. We're going to go ahead. You need to amend the RBI Act. Now, what did they amend in the RBI Act? Before the RBI Act was amended, every corporate company has a balance sheet every year. They have to write in it the amount given to which party, what is the amount. All right. Number two, the amount that is given is around 7% of their 3 years revenue, an average of that. There is a fixed amount. You can't go. Now, what has happened in this case is that you can give, and also no foreign companies can give funds here. Now, when they amended the RBI Act, what they did is the amount has become unlimited. Who is giving which company is anonymous, and third, foreign companies can pay money. That is shell companies. Now, look at the quid pro quo here. For example, there is a company, you're going to do work. A company needs work from the government. So they do the work and the company donates. And you should understand that bonds are in crores going, not in lakhs. It's crore. Now they donate to the company. Number two, suppose a company like Adani has a shell company outside. They earn money, send it to the shell company. The shell company sends it back here. So look what they did. This is what you call Gotala. This is a huge corruption here happening. And let's understand that. So let me just finish. So just see how they've amended. Then let's understand very important thing. Who sells the bonds? The SBI. SBI knows, RBI knows, the government of India knows. And you know what has happened? Many a times, businessmen have told me that, Shama, when we put money into your account, we get calls into the Congress account, not mine. We get calls and say, listen, stop it. We're sending the ED and the IT. So that is the other issue here.
Okay.
And let's understand.
Let me bring in Sanjeev Unyal and Ashutosh Srivastava also. Sanjeev Unyal, so please respond to what both General Verma said and what Dr. Shama Mohammed said, and what the Supreme Court today said while it struck down electoral bonds, saying that anonymous electoral bonds are violative of the right to information. Infringement of the right to information cannot be justified for curbing black money. Please respond to that. That ultimately, in a democracy, the voter has the right to know who he or she is voting for and who the funders and backers of that political party are.
There are two things. I'll say like this, because this is law of the land. Supreme Court, whatever says, we have to comply, the directions has been very clearly given to the SBI also, that by 13th March we have to come out with all the names, whosoever has given, who has taken the bonds. So it's very clear, first of all. But according to me, the judgment emphasizes purely on right to information. Means the process by which these bonds have been established and the people are giving money to political parties could not be wrong, because everyone knows from last 70, 65 years, a political party is taking out huge money in cash, taking it in the drawer, in the almirah, under the bedrooms, beds. So double beds, under double beds. So they are accommodating lot of cash money. So cash flow has been stopped by coming out with these bonds. This is my orientation, first of all.
No, but Punyalji, you saw the pictures. You saw the pictures recently of a Congress-backed MP in Jharkhand.
No, let me complete.
350 crores were recovered reportedly. in cash.
So that was a congressman. So first of all.
No, but
Now
how did
secondly,
electoral bonds
any
stop
political
cash
party-
transactions in
Now,
politics?
So at least whatsoever amount could be in lakhs crores of rupees is there through the bonds. So have been saved. Otherwise it would have been like
rubbish.
what happened.
I'm
what
sorry.
the example you
I
are
can't
setting right
listen to
now
this.
could be meeting. Let me complete. Keep quiet.
What nonsense.
Keep quiet. And secondly, what nonsense? Supreme Court has given a direction to the jurisdiction of India, that is SBI. But the political parties which were taking huge money to the Swiss bank, in last 20-25 years, we have not taken any name. We have not taken a single penny from the Swiss bank. But now, you see, so these bonds are much more valuable because that comes under the Supreme Court's jurisdiction. So we can come out. Who are the people who have given these, who have taken these bonds? So at least far more better. This
So why is
political
Supreme Court saying
party,
it's
these bonds,
unconstitutional?
according to me, are far more better. Let me just keep quiet.
No, why
has
Supreme
interrupted
Court
you.
says it's unconstitutional?
So
Answer that.
just keep quiet. Just keep
No,
quiet.
can't
You are
say
not the
just keep
anchor.
quiet. I'm asking you a question. You have to
So,
answer.
just keep
Why
quiet.
did Supreme Court say it's
please-
unconstitutional?
No,
Anchor,
once again,
Mr.
please,
Anchor,
one
I'm
at a
not
time.
going to-
One
I'm
at
not
a
going to
time,
answer
please.
you.
Shama, you're not the anchor. I'm the anchor. Let him
Nobody
finish.
has-
I'll ask him the
How
questions,
she is
please.
interrupting?
Yeah.
I'm making a very important point. If the people who are taking huge money through cash, and second set of people who are taking money to the Swiss bank, then the third type of people who are taking this money to the SBI. SBI has got 9,000 crore revenue out of it by taking bonds, giving bonds. So 9,000 crore rupees treasury of the government has been enhanced through these bonds. So which category of people are better? The people who are giving this
Okay.
money instead of going to the cash to the Swiss bank, SBI. So SBI can come out with a list of those people within 13th March. This is much more, I think, legalized. According to me, this is much more better
Okay,
than the
let
people who are
me
taking
bring in
our
Ghanshyam
huge
Tiwari also, please, and
hard-
then after
hard-earned
that,
money
Ashutosh
to the Swiss
Srivastava.
bank.
Yeah, Ghanshyam Tiwari, there are, like I said, mostly everyone is welcoming this. Many are even citing this as a historic judgment. There are two concerns. One is the concern about this retrospective application of releasing the names of donors at a time when those donors had given because an act of parliament was passed which said that their names will not be revealed. Number one. Number two, and this is a larger question that needs to be answered, how are political parties now going to be funded in a transparent fashion? Nobody is saying you cannot donate to political parties, but the transparency of it is critical. For example, in the US, in the UK, lobbying is legal, right? You know exactly which company is lobbying for what and which company has paid which political party what. It's all transparent. How do you get to that kind of a system where, I'm not saying you're making lobbying legal, but at least you know which corporate house is funding which political party and whether or not there is a quid pro quo that's going on? Ultimately, you have to move in the direction of transparency.
Good evening, Zaka, to you, the viewers, and the fellow co-panelists. I want to congratulate every citizen of India that this Modi Mahascam, Mahaghtala has been exposed in the Supreme Court and has been called out for what it is. It is unconstitutional. Except BJP, there
Even
is
Congress has
no
taken
other
those
party
ones.
brought it,
Congress
suggested
Ghotala.
it, supported it, or backed it. Now, look at the period of 2016 to 2022. The ADR report says that BJP got donations worth rupees 10,122 crore. Can you add all the parties together and say that these parties got 10,122 crore? What is BJP doing? Is this distributing money to the charity? No. They are running Khokhe Sarkar, as it is called in Maharashtra. They have benefited from the government that they have turned by alleged buying of MLAs, by stabbing democracy. Where is this money coming from? Point number two, why does BJP require 10,122 crore? The question is there a quid pro quo? When the list comes out, we will know that a government that has written off 14,56,226 crores in NPAs, 14,56,226 crores. They were supposed to give 15 lakh to every account. They waived off nearly 15 lakh crores of their crony capitalists. So the quid pro quo will be established. And the third is, was it even debated in Parliament? A government that muscles through the Parliament, even in this debate, there is no BJP spokesperson because they are all hiding. They know that their dishonesty is being caught. Every citizen of India is celebrating it because we don't want crony capitalists to take away our forests, take away our ports, take away our airports by backing a government whose prime minister may be willing to fly on any aeroplane that is marked by crony capitalists. So I think this is a moment of celebration. Those who say that what happens to the past donations, legal bribe is being called out as illegal now. So those who try to engage in this bribe have to figure it out. Those who indulge in creating Parliament as a route for these bribes have to figure it out. And if Mr. Unyal, who was very rude to Shama, can say on record 10,122 crore between 2016 to 2012, can you name even 1 crore of money who gave it? Can you say whether Mehul Choksky, Nirav Modi, Vijay Mallya
What about these bonds which have taken by your party? Congress has taken those bonds.
Are you out of turn?
Return those bonds.
A very specific question. Mehul Choksy, Nirav Modi,
Why?
Vijay
Then
Mallya,
he was doing the same thing.
You are not. Why are they
He was doing the same thing.
So the government that has backstabbed.
What about Swiss Bank? What about Swiss Bank? So many cases are pending against you.
No. So no. Once again, there are two
Remain
parts
on
to
the
it. No,
topic.
there are two parts to it. Like I said, it's not just BJP that benefited because of electoral bonds. Opposition parties also have, to a much lesser. One second, please. One second. Come on, Shama, don't do this. To a much lesser proportion than the BJP. That is an accepted point. As far as the point about Swiss banks is concerned, clearly the remit of the Supreme Court does not extend to Swiss banks, so you can't fault the Supreme Court for it. It is the government's job, and not just this government, previous governments also should have got whatever money has been stored away in Swiss banks, should have got it back. But Ashutosh Srivastava, I'm not dealing with Swiss banks today. I'm dealing with Indian banks.
The jurisdiction of India.
Ashutosh Srivastava, I'm dealing with Indian law and what the Supreme Court's decision today is. So, what the court has also said is that the amendments in the Companies Act permitting unlimited political contributions are arbitrary and unconstitutional. That information about funding of political parties is essential for electoral choices. So, like an example was given, if a corporate house is into mining and a political party comes to power promising tribals and others that, look, we're not going to give away our forests to these mining companies, and then through electoral bonds, this mining company buys electoral bonds and funds that political party, and that political party then, gives mining rights in tribal areas or in forests, then that's a quid pro quo. That's what the Supreme Court is referring to. That if you have an anonymous donor and a political party that's receiving it, then where is the public's right to know? The public's right to know has to be supreme in a democracy.
Yes, first of all, the order which has come today by the Supreme Court obviously has to be respected and has to be complied with. There is no question to that. Now, it is somewhat surprising that many of the political parties who have followed the same procedure, and with the same procedure they have taken such kind of donations, now they are complaining that the system was not proper suddenly. Now, what I would like to say here is that whether it is a higher amount or less amount, all the political parties have taken the donations in the similar manner. They had the right, as per the law, they had the right to refuse such kind of bonds, but they have still followed and they have taken the money through the same procedure. Now they are complaining because they want to say that a particular political party has received much more funds than as compared to them. Now, first of all, if somebody has to donate funds, it is the individual's choice to donate the amount to a particular political party, assuming that this particular political party would be doing, a better development or, doing a best in the interest of their businesses and for the public at large. That could be the thought process of an individual.
But Mr. Srivastava, no. Is that individual's right to donate bigger than the public's right to know who is donating to whom? That is the larger question.
This scheme was basically framed for the public only. Now, suppose if somebody has donated funds to one political party, after realizing that this particular party has not performed well, it has not done as per the expectation of the donor. So in that case, that particular person, individual or company decides to shift the funding or the donation to some other political party. Now, what happens in this process that the first political party, becomes, and behaves in a way of enmity with this individual who has donated, and a situation of rebel, comes in picture. So to maintain this and to maintain the, the right to privacy, I don't know why she is shouting. She has also taken some 1,000 crores, which is there in the
No. One second, Shama, please. Okay, don't do this. Please don't do this. I will come to you. You can put forth your views. Whatever your views are will be on your time, not on the time of another panelist. Let him finish, please. Thank you. Come on.
If Ms. Shama says that this is a money laundering, then she should be prosecuted for that. Why has she taken this much of money from the public at large and she's shouting on the channel like that? Please keep quiet and listen. So when some of the political parties started misusing this law, and some shell companies started coming in, as she said that there was some money laundering where she would be knowing about her party or some other party like that. So thereafter, the matter came before the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court realized that yes, there would be chances of misuse of this scheme, and that is why this scheme has been, again seen by the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court decided today that there has to be certain, amendment here, and accordingly it directed State Bank of India to issue all the details of the
let me take that to General Verma about the question of anonymity. Now, the reason why the anonymity clause was inserted when this bill was passed was that it doesn't lead to retributive action. Tomorrow, let's say if power changes hands, that if so-and-so has donated to political party A and tomorrow this political party B that comes to power, then the person who has donated is not at the receiving end of retributive action to the vagaries of power. That was the reasoning. Today, the Supreme Court has taken that reasoning away by saying make public all the list of all the donors who have contributed to political parties. General Verma.
I have two responses to that. One was that I remember the late Mr. Arun Jaitley, the then finance minister, made this statement in the parliament that this is the reason why we are keeping the anonymity clause. People filed RTI applications with the concerned departments of the government, I think the DEA, the Economic Affairs and wherever, and they were given a response in writing that there was no such request received by the government that there is retribution from any person. So that is one. The second thing is, do we have any cases in the open where such type of retribution or vindictiveness has taken place? I don't think so. Other corporates are very smart. They know which party is going to win. They donate to that. If there is a change in the wind direction, they will start supporting the other part. So I don't buy much into this argument, and neither did the Supreme Court, because it doesn't make much sense, frankly.
Okay, Shama Mohammed, to respond to what both Mr. Unyal said and what Mr. Srivastav said, they are on a matter of principle. Hear me out, please, 10 seconds. They are on a matter of principle. No one is saying that Congress party benefited because of electoral bonds or other opposition parties did. Clearly, the BJP benefited disproportionately. The numbers are there for everyone to see. But the fact that 10% of contributions to the Congress party have come through electoral bonds, it's a question of principle. If you were opposed to electoral bonds, you should not be taking a single pie through electoral bonds.
Did you hear the Supreme Court judgment? They talked about the level playing field also in the judgment.
Yes.
So what are we supposed to do? No, what are we supposed to do? We don't get anything and we don't function. We don't have money. You have to understand. So the other thing which I said, SBI knows about it. When SBI knows, the government of India knows. So when the companies are even giving us, they are being threatened not to give us, number one. Number two, one of the gentlemen said that suddenly, it is not suddenly. It is during that initial phase in 2017, we were against it. That's when we went to the Supreme Court. And money laundering is the word used by RBI. I don't know what lawyers you are, where you all work, but I don't think you all must be Supreme Court since you don't know. The money laundering word was used by RBI. They said this is not done. And also, let's understand very important thing. We got in the RTI Act. And do you know that this thing, when they amended the RBI Act, they said that this does not come, Arun Jaitley put it, that it will not come in the RTI Act. So nobody can, in between this period, before this judgment came, nobody has the right to information to find out who gave the money. We as a party did not know because we are not in the government. Those who like SBI knew exactly, and the SBI told the government of India, the RBI said to the government of India that who is donating this. And also the very important thing, Zaka, is the unlimited amount. And we, when we were in power, foreign funds couldn't come in. And we had in the balance sheet the amount. It was stopped at 7%. You have to understand that, of the revenue. Here, foreign funds come in. It is an unlimited amount. So it is not me or my party which has changed in the rules. And also the RTI, right to information, was brought in by my party, where there is transparency.
I'll give the final word to Mr. Unyal, both on the anonymity clause which has been struck down by the court today, and
unlimited amount coming from abroad.
And second on allowing this shell companies, which is something that was flagged by the RBI even before this bill was passed in 2017. Mr. Unyal.
You see the intention. I'll take the things in a very simple way, not complex. If you cannot convince, you confuse a number of times. I am not saying Shama is doing like this, but in very, very simple things. What was the intention of giving bonds to the people? First of all, what was the intention of the political party, any political party? Could be because 1,000 crore rupees, 2,000 crore rupees had been taken and run away in the Swiss bank, deposited in the Swiss bank. Nobody has
so why make it anonymous? Why make it anonymous? Answer that.
Nobody has
again, please. You are guilty of doing this again and again and again on the show. Don't do this, please.
Because you're not.
I gave you ample time to respond. You respond on your time. Now it's his time, not your time. No, please. You have to listen to what he has to say.
That is the only intention. That is the only intention. Let black money should come in a white style, because illegal money should not be there on the roads. Should not be there on the. Should not be there in the political houses, and the political parties who are governed by single family or the single individual had been really upset because they were not getting money and they were not growing at all. If you see Sensex also, if somebody is taking news in the CNN, like your channel writer now is doing, nobody is asking how much money of which businessman is there in the CNN, but they are looking into the news. So if CNN is doing good, so a lot of shares have been sold and people are putting up money in the CNN because CNN is doing better than other channels. So that is the only thing. Nobody is asking
we are a listed company.
So I'll news. So it is like this. It is like this. It is like this. It is like this.
Sir, please. We are a listed company. It is there in the public domain. Who is part of our director board, who our investors are. I don't think you can compare that. I don't think you can compare that to anonymous donations to political parties.
This is an example. No,
I have to wrap up. Ghanshyam, final word. I have to really wrap up. I'm completely out of time. Sir, now I've moved on to the next guest. Please, you also please yield. Ghanshyam Tiwari, last 30 seconds, please.
One sentence, Zaka. I appeal to BJP that please send your spokesperson to discuss this organized loot that you organized through the parliament, and so that kindergarten discussions and arguments don't create your point of view. BJP is the architect of this organized plan. They received 10,000 crores plus. They have to answer to people of India.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Let's see how this story plays out. But I want to shift focus to a newsmaker tonight on Brass Tacks, an exclusive chat with former Maharashtra Chief Minister and Congress leader Ashok Chavan, who's now switched sides to the BJP. He delivered a fresh jolt to the Congress party after jumping ship just ahead of the Lok Sabha elections. He's now been nominated as one of the BJP candidates to the Rajya Sabha. He claims that the Congress party is just not prepared to take on the BJP, whether it is nationally or in particular in Maharashtra. He's also added, when I asked him why leaders are leaving the India bloc one after another, he said it's an unstable alliance with no real game plan. That's the exclusive interview with Ashok Chavan. You and your family have been associated with the Congress party for the last 40 plus years. You've been a chief minister yourself. Your late father, Mr. Shankar Rao Chauhan, was one of the legendary chief ministers of Maharashtra. Why have you decided to take this step and disassociate from a party that you have had decades-long association with and join a party that you have opposed for so many years?
I do appreciate your views on this because we have been associated with the Congress party for quite some time, at least more than 40 years. But coming to Maharashtra, I don't have any complaints about our national leadership. But coming back to Maharashtra, with a serious situation like the Lok Sabha elections on hand, and rather being prepared for the election ongoing. One is the India problem. You are seeing that several of the colleagues in India have been slowly, gradually leaving the alliance for whatever reasons, whether it is Mamata, Nitish Kumar and few others who have important partners have been gradually moving away from India, which was, we are highly hopeful that something would happen. But whatever may be the reason, Aam Aadmi Party and others also have gradually leaving the India alliance. At the same time, you will appreciate, you will see that in Maharashtra also, the overall organizational issues in Maharashtra have taken a very serious turn last more than one and a half year. Things are not moving things as expected. The election preparations are hardly visible. The political scenario is drastically changing day by day. The political problems, challenges are there, but I don't see, in spite of the best leadership at the center we have, still the state unit has not been able to come up to these expectations, and hardly there is any strategy, hardly there is any preparation. How are you going to face the elections? And when you talk about the National India Alliance, how are you going to add up the numbers which are expected in the India Alliance? So these are some of the very prime issues which are definitely in everybody's mind.
But Mr. Chauhan, you talked about the India Alliance. I'll talk about the national picture first, then I'll come to Maharashtra. When you talk about the India Alliance and you refer to Nitish Kumar leaving, Mamata Banerjee saying she's going to contest on her own, why do you think these parties are slowly but surely deserting the India Alliance? What is the reason for that?
No, there are seat adjustments, seat distribution issues are there. Local problems are affecting the seat sharing issues. These are some of the prime issues. These are the main issues which are creating problems, and that's the issue on which the India Alliance has not been able to pick up. That is one of the reasons, because seat sharing is not working out, and with the elections coming so near, at the last minute, will you be able to do something about it? I have hardly any hope for that.
Well, seat sharing is one part, but what about the glue of being anti-BJP, anti-Modi? That was the reason why India Alliance came together. That glue no longer holds?
That's not the only issue on which the India Alliance could succeed, you see. Only being anti-Modi, only being against the BJP government is not only the issue. We have to be very specific about the issues you have in mind. Every time only criticizing the Prime Minister is not going to fetch votes to you as you may expect. So I think strategically there has to be a proper working on that. But more than that, I would like to focus on Maharashtra. Maharashtra has definitely been a stronghold for the Congress once. But at the moment what I see, I don't see anything happening here. So I thought it is better that even in spite of the best efforts to see that things move here, nothing is happening, and that's why ultimately I took a call. That's better that I switch on to something better.
Mr. Chauhan, let's talk about Maharashtra. You have said, I think in the press conference also, you said that the current local leadership there, you have differences with them. You are one of the senior most leaders of the Maharashtra Congress. You used to be a former chief minister. When you raised this with the central leadership, what was their response? How come they did not take your concerns or suggestions seriously?
No, I have been talking to our in charges who have been in Maharashtra. I have never personally criticized anybody with my leadership, but I am not type of person who would like to say something behind the back. Issues have been raised in meetings. Issues have been raised before the in charges of the states. I mean, nothing has actually happened, and there was no. I didn't see any corrective measures happening, and we were just time is passing by, and elections are hardly a few weeks away, and with this sort of situation, how do you expect to take on the BJP?
I do want to ask you a couple of questions. I want to take you back to more than 10 years ago when you were Chief Minister. The BJP was at the forefront of the campaign to remove you on the back of what they had alleged was corruption allegations, other scams, so on and so forth. And now you've joined hands with that same party. Isn't that ironic?
That's okay. I mean, people really know that we have these issues have been politically motivated at that time, because in the opposition raised issues against me personally. On those issues I had to resign. I am aware of that. But anyway, nothing personal about it. But still, you are aware that we have won the High Court case in these matters. People have gone into appeal, that's okay. But more than that, that's not an issue which is at all connected with my decision to leave the party. Let me be very frank. But so, whatever has happened during that regime was also during the Congress regime itself, not with the BJP regime.
So in the last few weeks itself, you have yourself who have moved from the Congress to the BJP. You have someone like a Milind Deora who has moved from the Congress to the Shinde faction of the Shiv Sena. Why are, particularly in Maharashtra, one after another, Congress leaders leaving and joining either BJP or other parties of the Mahayuti?
Future of the party is also your future. You see, in whichever party one may belong to, if the future of the party, there is some future in that party, then people will remain with you. They will work together for the success of the party. We have seen Congress once upon a time. People to get a Congress ticket or nomination is as good as winning an election. That was the sort of craze and backing that the Congress enjoyed, the support of the masses and the people during the leadership of Indira Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi also. Those were the days. But today, if you see the situation in Maharashtra particularly, all over the state there is a problem, or over the country there is a problem, but particularly when I am talking about Maharashtra, you see people are gradually moving because everybody has his own future also. Na? You have to ensure that you built up the party responds to your plan or action or takes the party forward. The leadership has to, the PCC president, the CLP leaders, the colleagues, all have to come together. They have to bring the party together and take a call and start action on that. But okay. Sorry to say, things are not working the way it should.
Okay. One final question, Mr. Chavan. Looking forward to Lok Sabha 2024, and then this year there's also Vidhan Sabha in Maharashtra, the elections in 2024. The critics of the current government, the state government, are saying that, look, it's a hodgepodge coalition. BJP is, of course, the strong pillar, but you have half a Shinde Sena, half an Ajit Pawar faction, and they don't really stand a chance against the real Shiv Sena of Uddhav Thackeray and the real NCP of Sharad Pawar. What would you say to that? And that the BJP is just using, leaders from other parties because they realize that in Maharashtra, the current government is on weak wicket.
You see, as you have pointed out, it is half a Shinde party, half a Ajit Pawar's party, Uddhav Thackeray and Sharad Pawar. I think it is yet to be proven that who enjoys the mass support, who enjoys the public confidence. So after the split of both these parties, there aren't any elections which have taken place in Maharashtra. So it's very difficult to judge that who enjoys the public support. I think once these elections take place, things will be clear. Doodh ka doodh aur pani ka pani ho jayega as to who enjoys the real support of the masses, and that will decide the future of Maharashtra.
Indonesia's defense minister, a feared former general, will be its new president. a man who was removed from the army after he was found responsible for the kidnapping of political dissidents, appeared to be on track to win the presidential election outright in the very first round without a runoff. The provisional results cast doubts on the future of one of the world's most vibrant democracies. The candidate, Prabowo Subianto, had a commanding lead in the three-way race for president. In the provisional counting, he was leading with more than 58% of the vote in the first round. This is according to unofficial tallies that have a history of accurately predicting the final results. The two other presidential candidates say it's too early to decide a winner. If these projections are confirmed, Indonesia, the world's third largest democracy, will be left contending with a president who has said that Indonesia needs neither elections nor democracy. Prabowo Subianto was barred from entering the United States for almost 20 years because of his human rights record. For many years, he was associated with Indonesia's longtime dictator, Suharto. The era of liberty that followed the ouster of Suharto in the late 90s could now be under direct threat with Prabowo's ascent to power. On Wednesday night, supporters of Prabowo chanted his name as he gave his victory speech in the capital, Jakarta. This victory must be a victory for all Indonesian people, Mr. Prabowo said in his victory speech. The election in Indonesia matters far beyond its borders. The world's fourth most populous country, the largest population of Muslims anywhere in the world, it's a country which has growing strategic importance both to the US and to China, and also to other Indo-Pacific countries. Indonesia is one of the world's largest producers of coal, palm oil, and nickel. It sits right on top of the supply chain of many international companies. All of that means the result of this Indonesian election will have a major bearing on the future course of ties in the Indo-Pacific. Prabowo Subianto has coveted the presidency for a number of years now. He's tried on different public personas to try and court voters. But what finally pushed him over the line was the explicit support of the popular outgoing president, Joko Widodo. Incidentally, Joko's son, Gibran Raka, is Prabowo's running mate. He will become the country's new vice president. By co-opting Prabowo, critics say that Jokowi showed the lengths to which he was willing to go to maintain his influence on Indonesian politics even after he demits office. As per Indonesian law, you cannot serve as president after 2 5-year terms. Democratic norms in Indonesia have eroded during Joko's time in power. He has stripped down the powers of an anti-corruption agency, he's rammed through a contentious labor law, and more recently, he appeared to engineer the placement of his son, Gibran, on the ballot to be vice president. Now, in the past, during the dictatorship years, Indonesia's declining democracy was closely related to the suppression of civil liberties. But in Jokowi's time, and now beyond that perhaps, there is a genuine fear in the deterioration in the quality of elections and also intervention from those who are in power. Now, these are not concerns that ordinarily matter to most ordinary Indonesians. The country has largely prospered under Joko Widodo's ambitious infrastructure program. Surveys have consistently shown that Indonesians want someone to continue Joko's legacy, and that is how they see Prabowo. Indonesia is an important outlier in a region where the will of the people is often ignored. Even though democracy is widely considered to be imperfect in this country, many Indonesians have embraced democracy as a way of life. Elections in the last 3 decades have been considered by and large free and fair. Voters say they do not want a return to the days of Suharto. Suharto, incidentally, happens to be the coming president, Prabowo's former boss. As the president, he was his defense minister and also was his ex-father-in-law. Prabowo was married for a brief while to Suharto's daughter. Polling stations across thousands of islands spread across 5 time zones opened for just 6 hours. Tens of millions of people voted, celebrating what they call Pesta Democracy or Democracy Party. It can take weeks to declare the official results given the expanse of the country, but results can be apparent within just hours after the polls close thanks to so-called quick counts. Now, these counts involve independent polling companies who tally these ballots from a sampling of polling places nationwide. For the last few months, surveys showed Prabowo was slightly ahead of his opponents Anies Baswedan, who's a former governor of Jakarta, and Ganjar Pranowo, who's a former governor of Central Java. Now, the platforms of these three candidates did not differ very significantly, but Prabowo had a strongman image, and that set him apart. Following Suharto's ouster in 1998, Prabowo was discharged from the Indonesian army. The armed forces found that he was involved in a number of abduction and torture cases of pro-democracy activists. More than a dozen of those activists still remain missing to this day. Joko Widodo played a crucial role in the rehabilitation of Prabowo. He named Prabowo his defense minister in 2019, and then last fall, Gibran, who is Jokowi's son, joined forces with Prabowo, who is twice his age. Both men aggressively courted the massive youth vote. People who are younger than 40 have accounted for more than half of all eligible voters. In fact, they ran a slick social media campaign which sought to rebrand Prabowo as a Jamoy or a cuddly grandfather. It is far from clear what Jokowi's influence or role is going to be in Indonesian politics after he leaves office and after his son becomes the next vice president. Compared to the president, the vice president has very limited powers, but whoever holds that post is important because he or she happens to be next in line if the president dies. Mr. Jokowi used to be the hope of the Indonesian people. However, he is now no longer the leader of the country. He is now moving into the role of a ruler, an official who is building dynastic politics. After all, even for Joko Widodo, who was oftentimes referred to as the Barack Obama of Indonesia, love of his family proved to be more powerful than the love of his country's fledgling democracy.
Presented by bond from the SBI. But whatever uncashed amount is there, that amount will have to be refunded. We don't know how much that uncashed amount will be, but that amount will have to be refunded to whoever has donated that money. Also, politically, this is definitely a setback to the BJP because the BJP had been, defending this scheme. In fact, the government in the Supreme Court, if I quote what Tushar Mehta had told the court, he has said that the focus of this scheme was to ensure anonymity. Not to ensure anonymity. He said the focus of the scheme was not at all to ensure anonymity, but to ensure confidentiality, because he said there was an apex court decision itself of 2019 that recognized the right of privacy as a fundamental right. So he argued that the donors also have a right to privacy. Unless the information is of genuine public interest, in that case people could approach the court. But definitely the Supreme Court has taken a different view here. It has said that the interest of the voter to know who donated to the political party he wants to vote for, the candidate he is voting for, is more paramount. So that is what I think the distinction that the Supreme Court has drawn here. And the electoral bond scheme, another point which was very significant in the electoral bond scheme, that you could purchase it for any value in multiples of 1,000, 10,000, 1 lakh, 10 lakh or 1 crore. And the allegation of the petition also was that most of the electoral bonds which have been bought are of higher denomination. So it is mostly the corporates and the private companies which may have bought these electoral bonds and make donation to political parties. So is there a chance of quid pro quo also? Because the donation is completely anonymous. So nobody apart from the government knows who is contributing to whom. So this is another point that in fact the petitioners had raised, that there is nothing in the scheme which connects the donations that are actually made towards participation in the electoral process, because there is no way to monitor how the political parties spend that money which they get through electoral bond. It may not just be on election, may not be something else also. So all these points were raised by the petitioners before the court, and now the striking down of the electoral bond scheme as unconstitutional is a big development ahead of the Lok Sabha elections. This will have its impact on various political parties and setback to the BJP. Let's see how the party and the government respond to this.